If you're a successful business owner, then you probably receive regular inquiries from people who supposedly want to buy your company. Don't be fooled. Most of those inquiries are not from real buyers, but even the legitimate ones are very risky for you to engage with. Here's why. The buyers who reach out to you are hoping to negotiate directly with an owner who doesn't have any merger and acquisition experience and who isn't likely to be talking to other buyers who can outbid them. When you engage with these buyers, you're giving them all the leverage in the negotiation and due diligence process. Here's what usually happens. In the beginning, it's like business dating where everyone is putting their best foot forward. They'll ask you a lot of questions about your business, and they won't stop asking for more and more data until you push them to make an offer. If they do make an offer, it's going to be lower than you'd like. This is when most of these discussions break down, when there's real money being discussed. Keep in mind, the buyer doesn't have an incentive to offer you a market price for your business because you're not actually in the market. You're just talking to them. If you do work out a deal and sign a letter of intent, then you need to be prepared for due diligence risk. Now, there's always risk in due diligence, but the risk in this situation is especially high because the buyer knows that you don't have due diligence experience, and they know that you don't have a backup buyer to go to if talks with them break down. So in due diligence, the buyer is going to put your historical financials and everything else about your business under a magnifying glass and ask you painfully detailed questions for weeks. Due diligence is always a challenge, especially when you haven't prepared for it in advance. But it's far more challenging and risky when you don't have due diligence experience and the buyer does, because no company is perfect. So they are almost certainly going to find some things about your business that they claim are objectionable. It may be accounting imperfections, legal risks, whatever. And whether you agree with their findings or not, they're going to cite those objections as grounds to renegotiate the deal that you just barely signed in the letter of intent. Now, you can tell yourself that you can walk away from the deal, but that gets very difficult to do the more time you have invested in the process and the closer you get to a possible closing. But if you do give in to them now, they're going to know that they've got you, and you're going to be pressured to make additional financial and legal concessions before you actually close. So most of these discussions with individual buyers break down at some point. If you happen to be one of the very few business owners who's able to close a deal under these circumstances, you will guaranteed have left money on the table by negotiating without an experienced advisor and by negotiating with only one buyer at a time. So as tempting and flattering as these inquiries can be, they rarely work out well for the seller. You're much better off using your time to engage with a merger and acquisition advisor, prepare for the sale process, and then offer your company to a whole market of potential buyers. You'll save time in the end, and when you have multiple buyers bidding for your company, you get a higher sales price, more cash at closing, a less risky path through due diligence, and you get to choose the buyer that works best for you and your team. So don't let one buyer control your sale process. With experienced guidance and effective preparation, you're in control and you get the exit you deserve.